Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. A while ago now, this was back when they released the previews for the Justice League. I made a video entitled Justice League: The Ice Cream Metaphor, and I have a link to that in the top right hand corner in the description below. And in this video I address some of the silly reactions I was hearing around me about the then upcoming Justice League movie. People were so desperate to be hopeful about this film. They were saying things like, well, it looks like there's some humor, it looks like there's some more color, maybe this is it, maybe they're going to fix it with this movie. You cannot fix the DC Extended Universe as long as you're continuing to build on the shoddy, emo-ass foundation that Zack Snyder has laid. Warner Brothers has made it emphatically clear that they have no intention of rebooting or rebuilding that foundation in any way. Even the so-called soft reboots that people like to throw around regarding this aspect or that aspect, none of that is enough. So I made that video. I recommend you check it out. But I'm hearing some of the same silly comments now about upcoming DCEU movies. People are saying things like, well, Captain Marvel looks like it'll be more lighthearted and kind of fun, and that's not really going to have the Justice League in it. It's going to be set in the same universe. If you've read the description of the film, he's inspired by the Justice League that we saw in that horrible movie. People are saying, well, Aquaman's supposed to be good because James Wan's really been taking his time with it. It doesn't matter. That's not Aquaman. That is not Aquaman that they have established with Jason Momoa's portrayal and Zack Snyder's basis that he laid for that in his films. That's not the Aquaman of the comic books in any way, not even remotely close. Even Wonder Woman, and this is the one I have to fight people on sometimes because they tend to not know much about the character from the comics, and Wonder Woman was a passable movie. It was an okay movie just on its own merit. So people say, wow, that one was good. That was a big success for DC, and I can't wait for the sequel. Hey, have you seen that sequel? It's going to be the 80s nostalgia, and they even made the costume more colorful, and I just can't wait. Fine, but that's not Wonder Woman. That is not the Wonder Woman from the comic books at all. So it's time for another one of these metaphors, and I have another one in reserve here. Let me first say that if you don't care about seeing on-screen portrayals that are accurate and do justice, no pun intended, to these characters as we've known and loved them in the comic books over the decades, if you don't care about that and you like the way they've been portrayed, well then have fun. Warner Brothers has made it clear they're going to continue making these films exactly the same way for people like you, so you and 3 other people can go see them at the box office. But these are not the characters from the comic books, and you cannot point to one story, one arc, one run, or anything like that. It drove me crazy when people were trying to say that Batman v Superman came straight from the comics because look at this pose right here. See, that's from this run, and he said this, that line is directly from this, or the fact that she's doing that over there, that came from this in the comic. It's all completely out of context. Zack Snyder is not a storyteller. He's a visual artist, and the best he could do was pick and choose these random scenes, moments, lines, completely out of context aspects from the comics and throw them into a film. So, let me get to the analogy here. I hate onions. Maybe 1 or 2 of you out there can agree with me on this. Usually I'm the only one in a room or on a street or in a mile that feels this way, but I hate the taste of onions. Loathe it. The texture, the flavor, the smell, everything about onions. Doesn't matter if it's a strong onion, a mild onion, I can't handle it. And growing up in the South, that was always a problem because onions are in everything. Some way, shape, or form, they just add onions to everything. And when you tell people you don't like onions, they're just determined to change your mind. They don't believe you. You can't not like onions. So they want to try to slip it in under your notice so that you'll realize you actually do like onions or whatever. And they have some of the most ridiculous arguments too. I remember my mother would make a dish and say, here, try this. And I would say, does it have onions in it? And she would say, yeah, but you can't even taste them. And I would say, then why did you put them in there? And she would say, well, just to flavor it. Well, then if it's in there to flavor it, then I can clearly taste them. The arguments were ridiculous. Then I would go to a restaurant or something like that. Let's say I ordered, just to keep it simple, let's say I ordered a hamburger, a cheeseburger or whatever, And they bring it out, and there's a big fat onion on top, just sitting in the mayo and imprinting into the cheese there. And I say, I'm sorry I asked for this with no onions. So they take it back, and then they bring it back out, and all they've done is take the onion off the top. And the circle of the onion where it was, it's still there sitting in the cheese. The mayo and all around it is still there. All you have to do is show an onion to another piece of food for that piece of food to taste like that onion. The flavor of an onion and the taste permeates everything it touches. That's the point. That's why people use them in sauces and so forth. Are you telling me that the mayo and the ketchup and all of that around there, that onion was previously floating in? You're telling me none of that tastes like an onion now because you took it out? Ridiculous. And that is what the DC universe is trying to do right now. They tried to do it with Justice League and it didn't work. It was the biggest failure in the world. Because they just threw out the onions. They kept everything the same. They kept the burger. They kept all of the condiments. They kept all of that. They just took off the onions and tossed it aside. And you had one of the most ridiculous movies in the world, not because of the lack of onions, but because the whole setup needs to go. It needs to be rebuilt. The effect of the onions are still there. The flavor's still there, even if you throw them out. Happy, confident, smiling Superman in the Justice League was ridiculous because there was no basis for him in this universe. No one believed that Henry Cavill was an inspirational, hopeful character because they'd not laid any foundation for that whatsoever. It doesn't matter how great the script is for Wonder Woman 2, just as a film. Maybe this is an amazing movie. Maybe it really, just from a script standpoint and a movie standpoint, maybe it ends up being just a wonderfully crafted film. It's still not Wonder Woman. And people say, well, they're retconning this, and that, and they're soft rebooting, and she's not hiding from mankind anymore since World War I. Okay, well, first of all, in your very statement there, she came on the scene in World War I, so she doesn't have any of the cultural resonances that were embedded in World War II when Marston created the character to enter into man's world, quote unquote. If you're not going to reboot her as coming into modern times, World War I is a completely random and empty time period to introduce her in, but that's just scratching the surface. How are you truly going to explain Wonder Woman not being known as Wonder Woman throughout the century? Oh, well, she was doing things behind the scenes. She was still trying to help. Wonder Woman's not that kind of character. Wonder Woman's not there behind the scenes to help. Wonder Woman is an icon. She's a flag-wearing hero, but they've already taken the flag away too. Remove any and all ties to America. There's no way Warner Brothers will be so bold as to completely take that part out and just pretend that she's always been known and always been fighting as Wonder Woman throughout the century. Let's say they did, though. Let's say they had the guts to completely rework that, and Wonder Woman 2 will show us that she's always been known as Wonder Woman and she just came on the scene and has been a hero ever since. That'd be great. Still doesn't fix it because you have a character who was not sent to man's world to teach us the way of peace and Amazon way of extending a hand to your enemies before you extend your sword. We don't have that at all. We have a girl who ran away from her mommy with a boy. That's what you have in the Wonder Woman film. I don't care how much you like the movie. I don't care how much the movie was a huge improvement on the DC films in general in terms of script and all of that. It's still not Wonder Woman. It still tastes like onions. And that's because of Zack Snyder. That's the foundation that he's laid. Warner Brothers has made this bed for themselves, and they keep trying to deny it and pretend that it's fine. You'll just shut up now. You'll eat it. You'll pretend it doesn't taste like onions, and it's fine. It's not going to work. Maybe the films in themselves, maybe they'll improve. Even if that's the case, it's not going to be a successful cinematic superhero universe anywhere near the levels of success that Marvel has had. And that's a real shame because these characters deserve that. These characters, especially Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, are the most popular and recognizable characters, certainly from the comic books, in the world. That's the argument people were trying to make when Batman v Superman was still coming out. They don't need origins. Everybody knows who they are. Well, they need a loyal treatment to their status as comic book icons. These characters deserve so much better than what they are getting. And how much more does Warner Brothers need to have their nose rubbed in this? The failure of Justice League was just a massive, unparalleled defeat. Any studio should learn their lesson from that. But nope, let's keep forging ahead. We'll just take the onions off, put the bun back on top, it's fine. No one will ever notice, it's all good. Well, I notice, and you'll see that people are going to continue to notice. And even if the films themselves improve, these are not the characters. This is not the DC universe. The only way to turn this ship around without doing a complete and total just stop it right now reboot is to do a Flashpoint film where everything is reset back to an iconic status. And the latest reports I've heard, at least at the making of this video, is that they're not going to do a Flashpoint movie. That's just a rumor. Nope, they're just going to make a good Flash movie. They're just going to settle now because they're not worried about building a universe anymore, guys. They're just going to make good standalone movies. Do you know what the word standalone means? Standalone means not part of the universe. But guess what? These are standalone movies. They're part of the universe, but they're not really going to be concerned with universe building. I have to stop because this is just the level of stupid surrounding that the marketing tries to come out with this is just mind-boggling. Again, if you like what's come before, then you'll continue to like what is coming later, but your taste is not a logical argument. For this is a loyal interpretation of these characters, the icons we've known for so many decades. So that's my rant for what it's worth. There are all sorts of impacts and effects of this, but I've talked about that in other videos, and I'll continue to discuss it as it comes up, what this means for culture and what this does for our level of art, for our depth of psychological impact with the characters and whatnot. Let me know how you would approach resetting this universe. The Flashpoint is a great idea. Recently, the Fan Man just shared with me a plot synopsis for a Man of Steel 2 in which the entire universe is reset. Darkseid has been monkeying with the universe's timeline to weaken the state of all of its heroes and suck hope out of it, and that was a pretty good idea. Other ideas are out there, but it has to be a full reset mode idea. So if you have any of those, let me know. Let me know some story arcs from the comics that you would like to see true, loyal portrayals of on screen with the actual true characters and so forth. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.